Hi everyone. Welcome to the new episode of Ecom 365. I'm co-founder and CEO of ShopAgain. In Ecom 365, we try to answer the challenges that e-commerce businesses and marketers face in their daily life. For this episode, I have a new guest with me, Ian. He's a serial entrepreneur who owns several businesses, including multiple e-commerce businesses and a Shopify Plus store. He's based out of New York. Thanks for joining us, Ian. Welcome to the show. Could you tell us a little bit about what led you to starting the Shopify store?
First off, thanks for having me. And hi, everyone. I first got started in e-commerce about 6 years ago when I was selling on Amazon. And I really just hated the fact that we didn't own the customer data. They could just shut down your listing for no reason and suspend you for a variety of reasons, even if it was their mistake. So I was like, okay, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I want to own my store, own my customer. So that's when I got started on Shopify.
Okay. So I think that's a problem. Many of our viewers share too. They start off on Amazon, but they realize, they have a little control over their own data and their own customers. They can't even try to build customer relationship. And that's what leads them to starting their Shopify stores. One question I've heard from a lot of e-commerce business owners is those who want to start out their store, the first challenge they face is how to find that winning product to sell. And that's a very common question. I understand you had your products already on Amazon, but when you started out as an e-commerce entrepreneur at first, how did you find those first winning products to go after?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. It's a very hard question to answer because everyone's I don't think there is a magic formula to finding a product, but some parameters that I used and I still use, I use less so now because I have a little bit more margin for error with products, but I picked products that were the parameters were I wanted things to be small and easy to ship. I wanted to be able to sell them for at least $30, ideally $30 to $50. So like still impulse buy, but still enough that there was cushion there for advertising. The product had to cost me about $5 or $6 or less. Ideally, I could make it in the Western Hemisphere instead of making it in China, but most of my products are made domestically or in North America. And then I would do a lot of keyword research using SEMrush, which is like a keyword analyzing tool. And I would just go through Amazon's top products just to see what products we're selling, what areas, see like what's out there. And then anything that looked interesting in terms of size and price, I would go on Google, see what the competition was there in terms of who's selling it. Could I make it? Could I make it better? And then take a look at the keyword research, make sure that there's no big players in the market. I think especially when you're getting started, you don't want to be competing against big advertising budget, like consumer product good company or even a really big e-commerce company. So like I looked at smaller niches, things that had under 5,000 searches a month. You don't need that much search when you're doing like Google ads. You just need enough to get things going. And you could build a 7-figure business off of 6,000 searches a month if you do it correctly between shopping and search. So you don't need much, but you want to actually keep it lower so that, in my opinion, at least to start, if you don't have a lot of money, especially if you don't have a lot of money. I started my first business with a couple $1,000s. I didn't raise money. I didn't do any of that stuff. So I looked at being cost effective, cost efficient. So I always tried to, get in on something that didn't have a lot of competition, that didn't have a lot of advertising money in it, that didn't have a lot of search, that fit the price point, that fit the small and easy to ship. And that's how I selected my first product.
Thanks for summarizing for us, Ian. I think that's a really powerful list of criteria that people could also use, because most of our business owners, they are in the same boat as you were when you started out. They have little budget. They can't afford to burn thousands of dollars in Facebook ads. And Google ads seems like a very wise choice at that time. But if they are to rely on Google ads, it makes a lot of sense to start with the keyword research and make it part of finding that winning product. So that's great to hear. I know you were selling on WooCommerce platform first, and then you moved to Shopify later. So what happened? What was the reason for this move?
I was on Shopify first, Then I moved off of Shopify because I wanted to do a lot of these customizations. I actually had a very long journey of trying out a couple of different platforms. And in the end, I realized that even though I was paying Shopify a lot of fees and all of that stuff, it was still worth it. Shopify just has some of the best integrations out there. Their API connections with existing software are the best. So it just made my life easier to go back to Shopify after a while. It was the best move for me.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that's also a very big added value of Shopify, the strong app ecosystem that they have built, App Store ecosystem, that really empowers you to do a lot of things in a very easy way in your store. So tell us next, Ian, you started your store first. You found your winning products with trial and error and with your criteria. What was your strategy, which helped you reach to 6-figure revenue?
I come from doing a lot of Google ads between search and shopping. And I really just scaling search campaign. 6 figures is not hard. It's hard to get to 6 figures. Don't get me wrong. But with one funnel, you can get to 6 figures. And that's actually what happened. The 7 figures, it took more than one funnel. It took like me developing more than one product within the brand. But it was really like two funnels that got me to 7 figures, like two main funnels. So it doesn't take a lot. It just takes the right combination. Usually it's one great funnel can make a lot of money.
Okay, so for you, the first funnel was Google Ads as it started. What was the other?
My business is still mostly Google ads. And I've still been growing. I'm starting to do a lot more social media marketing. So like my Facebook's starting to ramp up a lot. So that might change in the next 6 months, but like I'm still like 80-20 and even maybe more closer to like 85-15 in terms of spend towards Google. But in 6 months, that might be 75-25 to 60-40.
Okay, so now that you mentioned Facebook ads, I hear a lot of business owners having trouble with Facebook ad lately after iOS 14.5 update. So now you are now ramping up your Facebook ads at the moment. How is your experience? Do you think you're getting the good return on your investment on Facebook ads?
I think Facebook ads still can work. What I'm learning, I'm just actually pretty new to Facebook ads because I've just been doing so much Google in my e-commerce experience. But what I'm finding works with Facebook ads right now is just I'm using influencer content to do video content, to do video ads. And I think you just have to, you can't, I think with Facebook ads nowadays, you can't it used to be where you could throw up a static image ad and it could be pretty mediocre and you get a bunch of sales. Like you have to put effort into your content now, which I think is good. I think we're weeding out maybe some of the more scammy sellers, and drop shipping is harder than it used to be. But if you have a real product and you have a real brand, I think it's better because it's gonna make you make really good content, and that's gonna be good for your brand overall. So it might be harder to become profitable, but I think once you start pumping out the right content that connects with your audience, connects with your customers or your potential customers, I think it's better for your business. I think it's better for e-commerce in general. I think rewarding people who are building brands instead of get rich quick schemes. I think that's better for the space.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. You mentioned for preparing content, the video content for your Facebook ads, you are relying on influencer as well. Could you tell us a little bit more about how you are finding those influencers, how you're going about creating that content?
I've used like manual outreach, reaching out to influencers that I think would work for my brand, but I also use like a website called #paid, which helps you like whitelist ads, and they have their group of influencers that they work with, a large group. Just trying out a little bit of everything, but I think like the manual campaigns are probably going to be the best as I like build out SOPs for my own outreach team. But yeah.
Okay. And if you don't mind sharing, what does your outreach message look like to these people, just for a head start for our audience?
I just talk about how I think that their content would, why I like it and why I think it'd be a match for my brand, and then see if they would like to work with me.
Okay. So that's a great piece of advice which I want people to notice. Manual outreach to influencers is still very powerful, and when you contact them, you want to tell them you have read their content, why you like it, and why you think it matches with their brand, and why is there an alignment between them and your brand.
Yeah,
So
it's having a conversation with people. That's, I think, and not everyone's going to want to do it. You have to do it at scale.
absolutely. And the very powerful use of this influencer reach is, as people already know, right? You don't just get the content created, you also get the reach of those influencers, and you both share through your channels. So that's just good business for both of you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Ian. Next question now, the way we are going is we started a store, we found the winning product, we started bringing in customers to our store. The next challenge that business owners faces, once you get the customers, how do you build loyal customers? How do you realize which ones to go after or which ones are more valuable to your business?
And that's a fantastic question. I don't really have the answer to that right now. I'm working on that answer, right? That's customer retention, customer loyalty. Those are lifetime value questions that I'm working on. My answer for that, I don't have a good one right now. I'm trying out a bunch of different things that can improve that. And that's one of my biggest focuses now is how to improve customer loyalty and customer retention.
Okay. All right. Finally, would you like to share with our audience what are the most important things they need to do to succeed as online e-commerce business owners?
One more time.
Uh, would you like to share with our audience what are the most important things they need to do to succeed as e-commerce business owners?
I think it comes down to just taking the risk. I think you don't want to take a huge risk. You don't want to be investing a ton of money into unproven things, but you need to be able to be risk tolerant enough to take the chance on yourself and on a project like this. I think if you're just getting started, you have to be willing to fail. You have to be willing to let go of your idea if it's not working and move on to something new, because your first thing may not work and you can't throw good money after bad. It comes back to what's your risk profile and do you have the tolerance for it? Because you have to be willing to fail. And if you're risk averse, it's just not going to work.
Absolutely. I think that's the life of entrepreneur in general. You have to be capable of managing risk and still keep your cool with it.
Yeah.
Thank you for all the great pieces of advice and joining us here. Finally, for our viewers, if you have any questions about e-commerce, paid acquisitions, marketing, retention, or development, email us at ecom365@shopagain.io, and we will have them answered by an expert in the future episode. This episode was sponsored by ShopAgain.io, an AI-powered customer retention platform. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, man.